Let's talk about all the problems that come with healing Lyme disease and why it's so difficult for the traditional medical system to help us treat the symptoms and root causes, really, of Lyme disease. Hey, by the way, my name is Ryan Kearns. I had Lyme carditis that was killing my heart. I healed it holistically. And look, there's a lot of people that are scared about their health right now, and I don't want you to be one of them. That's why I create this video. So today, I'm going to talk about all the problems that come with healing Lyme disease and with having Lyme disease in the first place, and why it's such a difficult disease to deal with. Why is it different than other illnesses? What makes it so difficult and so demanding on our lives? And what is the deal with Lyme disease? So first of all, let's say you get Lyme disease, right? From a tick bite, and by the way, it can come from hundreds of different animals, not just ticks. Lizards and birds carry it, so really tiny insects all the way up to large animals can carry Lyme disease. And it's commonly known that ticks are on deer, and deer usually have Lyme disease as well. Dogs can get Lyme disease pretty easily. And the thing is, when we talk about Lyme disease, it's funny because, there's really one microbe that's associated with Lyme disease, and that's called Borrelia Burgdorferi. That's why I put BB right there. So BB is known as the Lyme microbe, and this is what it looks like. It's a spiral, spirochete type microbe that can drill down into your cells. It wreaks havoc, and before it even enters your body, it changes its DNA in order to match your immune system so that it can go undetected and it can destroy you without your immune system detecting it and killing it. I know that sounds really scary, but stick with me because there's some things that we're going to talk about where we can fix this. Like there's things we can do personally at home without, using insane therapies or ridiculously expensive treatment centers to fix this. So the first thing to know is that usually when you get a tick bite and when you have Lyme disease, it's not just Borrelia Burgdorferi. It's not just that one microbe. It's normally 20 plus different microbes. Babesia, Bartonella, chlamydia is one that is often transmitted. There's a lot of them transmitted together through that bite, and it causes just a bunch of different things going on at the same time, right? There's going to be a huge cytokine cascade in the body from your body trying to heal this thing and sending, basically, it's like if the police saw a bad guy go by, they send all the police to go find him, and they're rushing and flying down the highway trying to find this guy, but the guy can hit a button in his car, and his car is disguised like all the other cars, and it just blends right in, and they can't find him. So they're causing all this congestion and damage and traffic accidents, but they're not able to actually kill the microbes. That's kind of what it's like. Hopefully that helps you visualize what's going on here when you first get Lyme disease. Now, here's what happens when you're going to go to the doctor, most likely, right? So you go to the doctor. That's why I drew a stethoscope here. And the doctor, for me, my visit to the doctor for the first time was literally 3 seconds. They saw I had the rash. If you don't have the rash, it's really hard to diagnose Lyme disease, and a lot of people go undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, mistreatment, not getting treated at all, and sometimes doctors will tell them they have depression, they have chronic fatigue syndrome, they have fibromyalgia, they have all these other things that aren't Lyme disease when they do in fact have Lyme disease. And that's not always a terrible thing, because as we're going to discuss, some of those things is just the same type of treatment that you would use across the board. So it's not terrible, but they miss the opportunity to use antibiotics and to use other treatments that can, make things go a little faster and easier. So the next part is you go to the doctor, they see you for 3 seconds. If you have the rash, they say, oh, you have Lyme disease, here's some antibiotics, bye-bye. That's literally what my first doctor's appointment was. I spent more time in the waiting room than I did inside of the doctor's office. So all they did was say, here's some antibiotics. They didn't tell me anything. They didn't warn me about antibiotics. They didn't tell me what antibiotics even were. All right, so I went home and I started researching right away. Should I take antibiotics? First of all, the word antibiotics, against living, anti-living, right? Okay, that sounds a little bit strange and like maybe we should question it a little bit more. So I looked deeper into it. Turns out antibiotics kill all of the bacteria in your body, not just these harmful 20 microbes right here, which, by the way, oftentimes antibiotics don't really get those guys, okay? The reason antibiotics don't always work for killing these types of microbes is because they are known as stealth microbes. As I was explaining earlier, they can change their DNA in order to match up with your immune system. And then your immune system thinks they're just part of it. They don't attack it, right? So they also can create biofilms around themselves. That's when they kind of curl up in a little ball and they have this biofilm that protects them from your immune system or from antibiotics. And they also basically drill into other cells that are in your body. And because you could tell by the spiral shape, that's how they operate. And then they steal that cell's nutrients and that cell's collagen and other nutrients that it needs. So really, taking antibiotics can do more harm to the body than it is going to do good for some people, right? For a lot of people, actually. And I would even argue that if you think Lyme disease is gone from using antibiotics, you might want to consider all of the angles here. You might want to consider what else you can do to increase your health and become a more healthy and viral individual so that you can live worry-free. So you can kind of drop the idea of Lyme disease affecting you again in the future, okay? Because for me, I thought Lyme disease was over and done with. I found out later I had Lyme carditis. It was attacking my heart. I had an AV block and almost killed me. I had to, reconcile with the fact that I might die. Then I had to take massive action at fixing the problem. And that is what led me to the next part. But before we get there, insurance, right? Let's say the antibiotics don't work. Insurance companies go, okay, so you have Lyme disease, you took the antibiotics, we paid for the antibiotics, so that's it. So if the antibiotics don't work, you're not allowed to say that you still have Lyme disease, and the insurance companies give you a big problem about covering you and paying for any treatments that go beyond that original date of treatment with antibiotics. Okay, so that's a huge problem. There's people suffering. They can't work. They can't make money because they're bedridden, because they have Lyme disease that's lasting longer than the antibiotics, and they can't get insurance coverage for the types of treatment that they need because they aren't considered to have an actual disease that would affect them, right? They don't think that chronic Lyme disease is a real thing. Insurance companies kind of deny that, and the CDC even doesn't talk about chronic Lyme disease. They call it post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome, which is just another fancy way of saying the antibiotics didn't work. Now what? Okay? So the insurance companies kind of fail. So antibiotics, they can fail you. Okay? I'm crossing them out here. The insurance, they fail you big time because they're not going to cover you beyond the antibiotics. Doctors, okay, they mean well. They really do. Obviously, they're in that profession for a reason. They want to help people. They want to heal you. But their training is such that they are taught to treat symptoms rather than root causes. Okay, if you go in and you have pain, they might give you pain medication rather than trying to figure out why the pain started. Okay, that's not as common a case, but in this case, they give you antibiotics here. This will hopefully kill the microbes, and that's it. But the root cause is many times something completely different. Okay, it could be insane stressors in your life. It could be environmental toxins. It could be mold toxicity. It could be like the list is super long, right? But what happens is our immune system gets compromised by those things first. It allows the Lyme disease microbes to take a hold and affect us in a greater, more negative way and impact us in a huge way. So that is why traditional doctor training is not the best case scenario for treating Lyme disease, as well as for treating a lot of things, because they don't ever look at the root symptoms. They don't look at lifestyle, nutrition, exercise. They don't look at sleep. They don't look at any type of herbal supplements. aren't really looked at in a doctor setting for the most part. And don't get me wrong, obviously there's a ton of good doctors, and I'd say 100% of them are good people, right? But it's just that their training doesn't always help them, and some doctors were able to overcome that and, train themselves on using herbs and using other types of natural medicines that can heal things like Lyme disease a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit easier, and actually works, rather than just throwing antibiotics at you and telling you to take a hike like many doctors do. Well, they don't say that. They think that they're healing you by giving you the antibiotics, but it just unfortunately doesn't really work that well for Lyme disease most of the time, okay? So I'm gonna cross out doctors. This isn't anything negative against doctors, okay? I just believe that their training isn't preparing them for situations like patients with Lyme disease, okay? So we move on, right? We move on. These are the problems, right? This is the type of stuff that is not helping you in your battle against Lyme disease. Doctors are on your side, but they just don't have the right training. Antibiotics are not the most useful and the most effective treatment because the stealth microbes are just so good at hiding and protecting themselves and not being killed off, okay? And not to mention, they adapt super fast. So as soon as there's antibiotics in the system, they can adapt. They can do something to protect themselves. And there's a lot of unknowns here because these microbes are very difficult to study, especially you can't really study them within a human body. You can study them in vitro, in a little dish in a lab. And that's where most of our studies come from. But luckily, science is studying these things a lot, okay? And what they're realizing is that one big thing that can truly change the game is herbs, okay? So we use herbs because they're naturally antimicrobial, they're naturally antiviral. When you take these types of herbs, the compounds in plants, all plants, are antimicrobial, antiviral. So when we take that, it's a lower grade form of antibiotic that our body can actually digest, use, and find bioavailable, that we can then, it ends up cleaning up all of our systems a lot easier, a lot more effectively than something like an antibiotic created in a lab that may or may not be to tell you the truth, antibiotics are an extreme approach to something like Lyme disease. For example, if you had pneumonia, right? That virus, that type of microbe just is relentless, right? It's right in your face. It's like if you were in a war and the war was one of those wars back in the day where they were just in an open field and one of the armies was just running at the other army. It's like that, right? Pneumonia's coming at you. You want antibiotics to come and go directly back at them and fight back. But stealth microbes are like guerrilla warfare. They are hiding, adapting, changing, drilling into small little tiny spaces. That's why joints usually get messed up. They love collagen. They feed on these parts of the body that break down when the immune system overreacts. So, all that being said, the point is that antibiotics are an aggressive solution for aggressive microbes and that are in high virulence, right? High virulence means that there's a lot of them and it's very easy to spread, right? These microbes, Borrelia Burgdorferi and the like for Lyme disease, are low virulence. They're in low numbers and they're hiding, changing, adapting, biofilming. They're doing these things to try and evade our immune system. It's actually really, really crazy, right? And so antibiotics are like sending a direct army after a guerrilla warfare army that can hide and change. And, they're like hiding in the trees and they're hiding, on the ground, all camouflaged. Maybe if you know anything about history, you'll know that when that happened, that changed warfare forever. So it's kind of similar in that fashion. There's a lot of parallels that you can kind of draw with Lyme disease and with war, which is why I call, everything that we do, it's Lyme Wars, right? You can go to LymeDiseaseWars.com to learn more about what we do. But basically, what we do is we help people beat Lyme disease within 90 days, and we do that through nutrition, herbs. And the thing with herbs that I just want to say real quick, since this is a video about the problems with Lyme disease, is that herbs usually come in the form of supplements, right? And supplements, herbs are great, right? Herbs can get the job done effectively, quickly, and even long term, right? You may have to take them for a long time, but they'll continue to give results over and over and over again, which is amazing, okay? But the supplement industry is not very regulated. The FDA does exist, but they usually don't do much unless they're called to look at something. And if you notice that, you'll notice that on a lot of supplement websites, it says this website was not viewed by the FDA, right? And it's because the supplement industry is highly, it's kind of unregulated in a sense. And there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of mislabeling, there's a lot of unethical practices going on. In fact, one study showed that 25% of supplements had tainted product or added product. They cut product in so that they can make the product cheaper for them, and then their profit margins go up, right? If I'm paying less for the product and you're paying the same price, I get more profit margin. So they do that. They found that 25% of products on the market are currently doing that. So that's a quarter of the stuff that you're getting could have added, just fillers, things that they cut it with, or even drugs that they use to get the desired effect of the supplement. So while herbs are amazing, the supplement market is a little bit sketchy and a little bit strange and a little bit unregulated. So we may not want to dive fully head on into supplements. But when it comes to other areas of, healing, we can use nutrition to really, really get the ball rolling. Okay, and like I said before, all plants have antimicrobial and antiviral properties. That's just one hint there for nutrition, and I could make 75 more videos only about nutrition because I am a nutritionist. I care about it a lot. I'm constantly looking at the latest and greatest studies on nutrition, so I can't just I don't know what else to say right now in this video about nutrition for Lyme disease, but I have plenty of other videos where we go in depth on that on this channel. So really, what I want to say is those are the main problems that we're dealing with here with Lyme disease. And if you haven't already, I hope you stick around because we're diving into this stuff every single day. I try to post a video every week. We have our email list. I have some free stuff that I can give you if you go to LymeDiseaseWars.com. And of course, please subscribe to this channel. Just hit the subscribe button below this video and hit the like button because it tells the YouTube algorithm that we're making good videos and it'll allow more people to see our channel. And that way, anybody that's suffering from Lyme disease or they have fear about their health, well, just one more person with less fear and we're doing a great job. So if you could share this with someone, that would be extremely important, extremely valuable, and we would appreciate it as well because our goal is just to reach as many people as possible so we can help the most people. Like I said, a lot of people are afraid and we don't want you to be one of them. So hit subscribe and stick around this channel so we can help you out. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching again. My name is Ryan Kearns and I'll catch you in the next video.